Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about something, we've never talked about on the channel before. I mean, it's not as if I would take a blatant opportunity to shove my fantastic, amazing, epic, better than everybody else's Titan that I made down your throats just one last time. Just one more time, ladies and gentlemen, I gotta show it off. And I found a wonderful opportunity to do that because it has come to my attention that the interwebs are all abuzz once again about something Warhammer related that I've seen come up a lot. And that thing is the size of Titans and the fact that a lot of people either think they are way too fucking big in the lore, or they are upset that the in-game models aren't big enough, or that the official GW numbers aren't big enough. And there's just this huge debate and confusion apparently about what's real. What can we believe? Who can we trust in this time of darkness and confusion? I'll tell you who you can trust. Me. As a proud Titan owner myself, not to toot my own horn, I know a thing or two about these machines that we all love, and that for a lot of us, pretty quintessential 40K things. So it's just kind of weird that there's all this confusion around them and how we can't even just nail down the size of these freaking things. Are they as big as, the Statue of Liberty? Are they as big as a skyscraper? Are they big enough to walk over top of mountains, perhaps? I'm here to answer all of this and more. Just real quick, we got to do it. Shout out to our channel sponsor, Lord of Skulls. Go check them out. All things Chaos and World Eaters. They have some awesome bits, especially they got even more on the way. They've got a new kit for Karn the Betrayer. They got new stuff for Knights. They're making a lot of really cool stuff over there. So please go check them out if you like Chaos or especially World Eaters in general. But without further ado, let's get into the video and let's break down exactly how big these things are, because I think it's actually a lot simpler than a lot of people. Not to throw any shade on my boy Wes Hammer, I really like your channel. I think you made it a little bit too complicated. I think there's a simpler solution here. We're going to get into it right now. So down here at the bottom, we have the Warhound Titan. And we're going to start small and work our way big, because the one that everybody wants to know, the big papa, the big daddy, the big cojones of the group, the Imperator Titan, how big is this fucking model if they were to make it? How big is this fucking thing if it were stomping around in real life? So we're going to start with the Warhound, because it's a, a more manageable size, little puppy of the group, and we're going to work our way up. Okay? So, super simple. This is going to be maybe a little bit of a hot take, but this is how it works for me. This is how I think about it, okay? This is how I figure this all out. So, within reason, most models in the game are relatively to scale. I'm going to wait a minute for the jeers of the crowd, the boos to die down. Most things are to scale, especially the newer stuff. Okay, some notable exceptions like the Space Marine Rhino. No, I know it doesn't look like it could fit 10 Marines in there. That's a little bit off. Okay, if we're being realistic, maybe there's more like 5 of them in there. But in general, most things are to scale. A Primaris Space Marine is a good head and shoulders above a guardsman. If we know the average height of a person, a grown man is, let's say close to 2 meters, 6 feet, give or take a few inches. And a Space Marine is roughly 8 feet, maybe 8.5 feet at the bigger end, 7.5 or the shorter end. So he would make sense to be head and shoulders above a guardsman, and the models represent that. You stick a Dreadnought next to them. The Dreadnoughts are about, twice as tall as a Space Marine, maybe not quite, but definitely a lot bulkier, and they look like it. You stick a Primarch next to a Space Marine. The Primarchs are anywhere from, 10, 11, 12 feet all the way up to maybe like 14-ish feet for the tall ones, and they look it. Especially with the bulk, but give or take twice the size of a Marine. For a normal Primarch, not a Demon Primarch, obviously. But so most things are to scale. Now, like I said, with things like a Rhino, it can get a little bit tricky to, you can't, it's like, yeah, obviously you can't fit 10 Marines in there, but at the same time, if you opened it up, there isn't 10 Marines sitting in there, so it's kind of like, it's not like they tried to cram 10 in there to show, yeah, they definitely can't fit or whatever. But the Titans have a built-in sense of scale in them. And what that is, ladies and gentlemen, is their crew. So built into the Titan models, there are crew. In particular, we're going to look real quick here into my Warhound Titan's head, and there is a crew. Yeah, they're a little bit fucked up. They're a little bit fused with the thing and maybe kind of dead, but there's 3 human-sized dudes in that head, which is how it is in the lore. In the lore, inside a Warhound Titan's head, which is the command center, there is a crew of 3 people controlling it. And then in the body, there's, your tech priests, your servitors, or whatever, doing the other stuff. So we know that this Titan is built to the scale that it is in the lore. Those infantry-sized guys in the head are to the scale of infantry-sized models in the game, which are scaled with the other infantry models in the game. So the guys in its head are to the scale of like a guardsman, so like a normal human. So then we can say that for the game, for the world, and then compared to the lore or whatever, this Titan is accurate to the size of the infantry and stuff in the game, because they made the head big enough to fit 3 dudes inside it, and that is how it is in the lore. So what does this mean? How do we get an accurate size from this, Zach? I'm so glad you asked, because I did crazy nerd math on my break last night at work to bring this information to you guys. So, if we know that a Space Marine, let's say a Primaris Space Marine, but whatever. This is a minor mistake on my part, okay? Look at this picture. I have Chaos Space Marines around its legs. The Chaos Space Marines are just a smidgen shorter than a Primaris Marine, and a Primaris Marine is supposed to be a smidgen taller, so it makes sense. So let's say a Primaris Space Marine, 8.5 feet, a normal Space Marine, about 8 feet, give or take 6 inches or whatever, okay? So I used a picture of a Tactical Marine. I probably should have used a Primaris Marine, but I scaled the image to the size of the infantry around his feet. So if we take that image and we duplicate it up a whole bunch, we can see that this Warhound Titan is just a hair over 6 Space Marines tall, which gives us basically 50 feet tall. Pretty close to 50 feet, give or take, a few feet here or there. And we can go even more exact than that. So the official model height of a Warhound Titan is 10.5 inches, or I think it was 250 millimeters. If it's wrong, I'll have that pop up right now. The official height of a Primaris Space Marine is 40 millimeters. So guess what? If we divide 250 by 40, what do we get? 6.25. So that shows that my scale is right. So we can say that a Warhound Titan is just over 6 Marines tall, or right around 50 feet tall. And that is accurate to the model, to the lore, to the everything. So if the Warhound Titan is 50 feet tall, or 6.25 Marines, we can now work our way up through the other Titans to get an accurate size for each of them. So working our way up to the Reaver, the next size Titan on this list, we have an official height for the model, which is in scale to the Warhound and everything, obviously. We have an official height of 400 millimeters. So we divide that by 40, which is the height of our Primaris Space Marine, and we get a number of 10. We then times that by the 8 feet tall, or if you want to do 8.5 feet tall, of the Space Marine, and we get a height of somewhere over 80 feet tall. 80 to, let's say 80 to 90, let's be generous, for the Reaver. For the Warlord Titan, the real big boy, this is the biggest Titan model they've actually made. We have a height of 558 millimeters, which when you divide that by 40, you end up with, I think it's close to 14 Marines tall, or, 110-ish feet tall for the Warlord Titan. 110, imagine, it's like people get upset that the Warlord Titan is not the size of a fucking skyscraper. Imagine a 110-foot tall, horn-blaring, ground-shaking, I don't know how many tons that is, but probably thousands of tons of metal stomping towards you, leveling buildings. That's terrifying. But what we're all here for is the Imperator. Let's be real here. This is the one everyone debates about. This is the one everyone argues about. They get upset about. They cry about. They have to go to therapy about. It's quite traumatic, this Titan. It brings out a lot of emotions in people. So, how are we going to do this? Because we don't have an Imperator Titan model. So I don't have this like nice handy millimeter thing to go off of, right? What we do have is art, and the art is kind of all over the place. Let's be real. We have that. This is where we see them like the size of mountains sometimes, right? But so what we want to do is we want to look at all art we can find where the Imperator is standing near other Titans, so that we can get a good idea of how it stands next to some of these other ones, which we have already worked out the size for. So if we look at any of the ones where it's standing next to a Warlord Titan, and any of the little like size comparison charts that people have mostly just pulled out of their fucking ass, it seems that in general the Imperator's head is kind of a head taller than the Warlord Titan, not that much taller, but then it has the entire cathedral on its back, and obviously every cathedral is probably going to be a little bit different. Maybe some of them have more guns higher up, bigger cannons with barrels that stick up in the air, flags and banners and whatever. So I think the height of that can vary quite a bit. So if we have a height of about 110 feet for the Warlord Titan, that's to its top, okay? And then we go to the Imperator Titan, who's a head taller than that. Let's be a little bit generous. Let's be a little bit of loose and fun, and let's just kind of err on the side of big, right? Because we want these things to be big. We want them to be big, and the artwork is kind of all over the place. I think it is reasonable to say that on average, the Imperator Titan, to the top of its towers, could be close to double the height of a Warlord Titan. Not its head, not to the base of its cathedral, to the top of the cathedral, the full height, it could be close to the height of double a Warlord Titan, which we worked out to be close to 110 feet, probably give or taking, how much he angles his guns up in the air and shit. So we end up with an Imperator Titan that is somewhere in the neighborhood of 200 to let's go all the way up to 250 feet tall if we're being generous. And that is the if they were to make a Imperator Titan tomorrow, that is how big in scale it would be to the other Titans. And I don't think anybody has ever once looked at a Warlord Titan on the table and next to, with infantry around its feet and stuff, and been like, that doesn't look right. That looks too small. So when I'm telling you that a 110-foot tall Warlord Titan looks like that, with Space Marines and stuff running around his legs, he looks massive. He takes up the whole table. If he were any bigger, it would be too much, probably. Like, it would be crazy. I think they look very appropriate on the table at this size. And we know it's the perfect size because they've scaled all the crew and stuff inside them to the infantry size. So then picture all those cool games and those cool videos and pictures and things you've seen of people playing with a real Warlord Titan model on the table, surrounded by infantry and stuff, taking up the whole battlefield. Now imagine something fucking twice as tall as that. And it's not just twice as tall, it's going to be way wider. It's way wider than a Warlord Titan to fit that massive base of cathedral on its back. So people get so hung up on the height, they want it to be skyscraper size. A 210-foot tall Imperator Titan would absolutely be big enough to have a cathedral on its back with potentially dozens of people in it, guards and crew and whatever, it absolutely would have big enough legs to have a handful of guards inside those two firing out of them or whatever, extra guns on them and stuff. That would be big enough to look like that. We know it would look like that because the Warlord looks like that, and the Warhound looks like that, and the Reaver looks like they all look like a good size, and that is how big they are based on the game, which they look appropriate. They look accurate to life. So we don't need to go and do a deep dive into every single book that's ever referenced to Titan size. That is how big Games Workshop made them based on the models that they have. Like, and that's like, it's appropriate. Like, that's how it is. That's just how it is. It's as simple as it is. You can't have a Warhound Titan be like double the size of the 50 feet that we've come up with here, because then inside its head you would actually have room for a crew of like 12 people instead of 3, which is, that's how it was. Like, you can read the lore on them. The crew of 3, they're all close together. They can reach out and touch each other. Like, that's how close they are. When they have to escape, they're just like climbing out of a hatch on the top. Like, it's not like they're going for a run down a deep, dark hallway into the corridors of the Titan. Like, it's not, it's big, but it's not that fucking big. You know what I mean? So there would absolutely be room on an Imperator Titan at that height and at that width and that girth to be the size that everyone wants it to be. You don't have to make it 3,000 feet tall. It's plenty big enough. And that about does it for today. I have exhausted myself. That was far too much thinking first thing in the morning after I've just worked a night shift. I hope that puts this whole Titan fiasco to rest, and I won't see any more videos putting in way too much work for something that doesn't need to be that complicated or that hard. If a dumbass like me can kind of sift through that in a 25-minute break or whatever, we don't need to do any more than that. So, trust me, it's good enough. We got it. We're close for sure. And yeah, that about wraps it up for today, guys. Thanks for watching. Sorry there hasn't been more model videos lately. I've honestly, it's just like all the stuff I've been working on, none of it is like to a state where I have something to show. I guess I can do like another like old, I can pull out another like Kit Bash showcase up of like something I've done before, but I kind of have gotten I haven't been as motivated to do those lately, because it's like I've done a couple where it's newer stuff I've worked on, right? And I've actually took the effort to film some of the process along the way and take more pictures of work in progress stuff along the way. If I go show you something that I made 3 years ago and show it off a little bit and talk about it, I'm not going to have much of that to show. It's mostly going to just be like, here's the cool model I made and take my word for it. This is how it was made. I'm not going to have those steps and those all the work in progress stuff to show. So it just kind of I don't know, I don't like the quality of those videos as much, if that makes sense. Like the one I did for my cool Hive Tyrant I made, even though it's not painted, which I usually like to only show stuff off when it's fully done, at least that one I took the time to show most of the process, and so I like that better. And that's kind of, there's something I'm working on right now where I'm trying to do that, but it's just taking a while. So yeah, more stuff soon. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.